Hello everyone, welcome to the When at Work podcast with host Julian Leahy. Today I'm joined by the fantastic Scott Gingold. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thank you, Julian. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, we had a few guests lined up. We're going to have a normal game with 3 people, but I just knew the first one back there was going to be a few people that forget what's on the calendar, and I do this all the time, so I can't be too upset about it. But we've got the fantastic Scott, and he's more than enough for a show. Now, Scott, I warned you, we were going to look at your celebrity lookalike before we started. Randomly, I do this, and the AI machine has decided your celebrity lookalike is this man. I got to say, that's uncanny. Well, that photo anyway.
Hey, being compared to Don Rickles, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Wow, incredible. Well, that's great. We got that out of the way. And we're going to play Jeopardy with Scott. Scott's assured to win this one. It's just for fun. All right, the categories for you, Scott, are ick words. These are not yucky words, but they are words with ick in them, like ice pick. Small state capitals, so some of the smaller states in the United States that are not as well known. What are the capitals of those ones? Word and phrase origins, tricky questions. Can't remember what that's about. CNN. These are words that have 2 N's in them. Home and garden. What would you like to kick things off with, Scott?
Just because you were kind of stumbling for a moment over tricky questions, I think I have to go there, even though I'm probably setting myself up for failure.
Curiosity.
Yes.
Let's do 108. Total number of each animal that Moses took on the ark with him during the great flood. So it's a trick question. Total number of each in the Bible, if you went to Sunday school.
I'm going to say 2, but I'm not sure about that one.
The total number of each. 2 of each. There must have been one that either he bought 3 or bought 1.
That is a tricky question. And my choices here,
But I might be I could be just giving you a bum stare here. If
I'm going to stick with 2.
Yeah, stick with 2. Good idea. Let's take a look at the answer. The answer is 0. The total number of each animal that Moses took. I get you. They're being tricky in saying... No, that doesn't make sense to me. I still think you're right. Well, that's Jeopardy. It's a real Jeopardy question. Let's continue on. Scott, what would you like?
Tricky for 200.
Tricky for 200. The number of times you can subtract 5 from 55.
I'm going to say 11.
Yes, to get down to 0. The answer is once. Because they're saying it's no longer 55 once you've subtracted. I'm thinking these are
that
more.
Is definitely a tricky question.
It's an unfair question. I don't like this category. It's making
Let's go for small state capitals for 100.
Small state capitals for 100. This capital was once known as Frank's Ford after Stephen Ford, who was killed by Native Americans nearby in 1780.
I'm going to say Michigan.
Michigan. The answer is in fact Frankfort.
Wow. Okay.
What's that? A capital? Have you heard of that one?
I've never heard of that one, honestly.
Wow. Well, I'm getting a bit nervous. I'm pretty sure these questions are correct. Let's try our luck on another one. What would you like?
How about ick words for 100?
Ick words for 100. This pivoted device supports a bicycle or motorcycle when not in use.
I'm going to say a kickstand.
Kickstand is correct. Well done, Scott. Great
Let's
job.
stay with ick words for 200.
Round of applause. Ick words for 200. For years, advertisers have asked us to do this to your big lighter.
What is flick?
Flick is correct. Well done, Scott. On a
Let's
roll
go
now.
for ick words for 300.
Ick words for 300. Last name of the golfing great who was the first to twice win the British Open, Masters, PGA and US Open.
You know, the first one that came to mind, I don't think is correct, but I'm still going to go with it. Who is Tiger Woods?
Now just remember we're in ick words. We need an ick.
An ick.
It's got to have ick in the name.
Oh, okay.
I think his name's the Bear or the Golden Bear or something.
Yeah, I can see him.
First name Jack.
Nicholas.
That's the one. Bit of a clue there. That's all right. What would you like next, Scott?
Let's keep going in this category. 400 for ick words.
Ick for 400. It's a billy club carried by a policeman.
It's a nightstick.
Ah, there we go. Nightstick is correct. Well done, Scott.
Thank you. Ick words for 500.
Ick words for 500. These long bloomers were once worn by women and girls as underwear.
Oh, gosh. Oh, boy.
There was a schoolyard rhyme. Number 9. I think it's what it was called. It's a very odd name. It's 4 syllables. It's 2 words together. The answer is... Well, they're saying knickers. I thought it was knickerbockers.
Oh, okay.
Knickers are just... Yeah, anyway, let's not talk about knickers. Scott, what would you like?
Let's try CNN for 100.
CNN for 100. So we need words that have NN in them. We hope your dog doesn't suffer ennui when boarded in one of these establishments.
Kennel. What is kennel?
Kennel is correct. Do you know what ennui is?
I do not.
Might be some sort of illness that they get in kennels, like kennel cough or something. Scott,
I
what would you
think
like?
so. Let's stay with that category, CNN for 200.
CNN for 200. Get thee to this synonym for a convent. And it's an NN word.
Wow.
No idea. Let's take a look.
No idea.
The answer is nunnery. Don't see too many nuns around these days.
None of this and none of that.
None of them. Scott, what would you like?
Let's stay with CNN in 300.
CNN for 300. Manually sifting for gold in a river.
Oh my goodness.
What do you call that?
Mining.
What is the instrument you use to do it? That'll help you. Because we need NN.
Not a rake, not a shovel, not a pike.
When they get down in the river, an
Yeah.
old prospector, and he puts it in there and he's sifting, but he's using something to catch the water and soil.
I can see it, but I can't think of the name. It's like a basket almost.
It's just
I think it's just a
pan,
handle, but
Scott. It's panning for gold.
Ah,
Yeah. All right, we'll do one more. It's a pretty tough go when you're by yourself. What would you like, Scott?
how about word and phrase origins for 100?
Word and phrase origins for 100. Some say this tool with an adjustable jaw was invented by a Massachusetts mechanic named Monk. Mechanics use this tool. The Foo Fighters' first single was this.
My first reaction was monkey wrench, but I know that's not right.
You got it.
Plier.
You got it, Scott. Well
Oh, I did.
done. Finished off with a correct answer, Scott. You got 1,200. All right.
Nice.
Great effort. I knew you'd win. Well,
The
let's
pressure.
wrap that up.
Pressure.
Yeah. Now, Scott, tell us a little bit about what you have been up to. Gingold Advisors, and you've also done a lot of interesting things. You were a soccer coach, and you had a radio show. Tell us about all of these things.
Sure. Well, I started out really, and where I met my wife 45 years ago as a first responder EMS. And that was a great experience. Obviously, the best part was meeting my wife, but I realized that I was more entrepreneurial and didn't really want to spend my life doing first responder EMS things and wanted to do something more business. And so I've been blessed to do a lot of different things in my life, including I grew up in a family business, whereas my parents worked together even for a minute after their divorce. So I've been involved in family businesses since the day I was born. My wife and I have built and successfully exited 7 different family businesses. As you mentioned, I'm a former Division I college soccer coach. I've also been part of over 70 volunteer nonprofit organizations during the course of my lifetime. Everything from, board member, board director, board president, just participant, helper in any way that I possibly can for a number of different issues. As you mentioned too, I had a very successful syndicated radio talk show on business, and also a podcast that went with that. And I've worked for many corporations. I've also worked for many family businesses before starting my own businesses. I think what's been unique about my business has been the fact that no two have been the same. I've always had an insatiable curiosity to do different things, learn new things. And, whether it was market research, whether it was cybersecurity, whatever, mergers and acquisitions, I've always had that curiosity and built businesses around them. Gingold Advisors was formed to help companies and businesses, as the graphic indicates, go from good to great. A lot of what I do today is I work with a lot of, frankly, stressed out executives. They don't have anyone really to talk to that's walked in their shoes before. I've slayed the dragons for over 4 decades, so I know the path they're on and I know how to help them.
And what types of businesses are usually reaching out to you, and what stage are they at in their journey?
It really is mixed. I got a call early this morning from a startup. I get mature companies that have been around for 10, 15, 20 years. I get family businesses that are going through transition and family generations, either second, third, or in some cases fourth. So it really is kind of all over the place. And I guess because of my diverse background, working in all those different stages and all those different fields that I've had the pleasure to do, they feel comfortable with me, as far as my counsel and working with them on coaching them.
Yes, you do have a very seemingly approachable way about you. I can imagine people would like dealing with you. And what are some of the problems that people have? Are there any common threads that you see?
Well, it always starts with the revenue, and then we go dig into it, right? So either the revenue's stagnant, it's declining, or it's just they're not going in the direction they had hoped for. It's when we peel back the layers of that onion, we find out all the underlying issues. It's a process problem. It's a systems problem. It's a people problem. Right people, wrong seats, wrong people, right seats. It's that sort of thing. And then it's a leadership issue too. There's not a clear mandate on which way the company's going. Messaging is off. But it always starts with revenue, and then it really comes down to finding out what the underlying factors are that's causing it.
Yeah, there's a lot there, isn't there? Messaging and things like that. Do you want to speak about that and some examples, perhaps, that you could mention where the messaging was not right, and then maybe what you did to change it?
Well, sure. I'll give you an example. Not by name, obviously, to confidentiality, but I just worked on it with a client recently. It happened to be 2 business partners, and half of the team seemed to be drawn to one, half the team to the other. They were each sending their own messages that were totally different from each other in the sense of how they were going to grow the business. There was no unified message. And as a result, some of the team was going one way and the other part of the team was going another way. And the two partners didn't really see it because, like a lot of businesses, one was focused on sales and marketing, the other was more focused on operations and administration. But the messaging had to be unified and it wasn't. So the team felt discombobulated. They felt like, they didn't know what direction the company was heading. And it wasn't until a third party neutral, meaning me, came in and started talking to people and finding out what was going on that was able to bring the two partners together and get on the same page.
Yeah, it's incredible. You swear you have the full vision of, so just say, in that situation where you've got two partners at loggerheads almost, you just cannot see any other way. And then having a third pair of eyes, just about always you'll think of something you'll find a way forward, or it's incredible. That's why I always say having a coach or an advisor, I mean, you just don't know what you don't know, and you can't see what you can't see. And it's honestly, if you ever get stuck in that situation that Scott talked about, even if you're a solo, business owner, having a chat to somebody, getting that extra pair of eyes, it just gets you unlocked. It gets you unfrozen, and you immediately, like what Scott was talking about, work on the messaging, or you'll have something, a way forward, whatever it is, the problems in your business. So, if you are out there and you are absolutely stressed out, don't kill yourself. Well, I shouldn't say that, but really, you're under a lot of stress. You need help. Get some experts in. And what happens if somebody clicks on the button, Scott?
Well, they'll hear from me fairly immediately. I am one of those people. I'm trying to be more diligent in my sleep, but I only sleep 4 hours a night. So when I get inquiries, I respond right away. When I do, we schedule a 30 to 60-minute conversation. And one of the things that'll come out of that, and I think your people might find this interesting that are listening to this, is I turn down more assignments than I accept. Nothing to do with money, by the way, whatsoever. It's if I don't feel like I can help them, or if I don't feel like they're really in a position where they want to bring change to their organization, then I'm certainly not going to waste their time or their money, much less my time. I want to make sure that I can really go into this knowing I'm going to have an impact in a positive way. So it always starts with a conversation. Make sure, and I think both parties know very quickly whether there's synergy or not. We'll always have bumps along the way because there's the push and pull in relationships like this. But on the other hand, you either connect on the first shot or you don't. And I think that's really, really important. If I could just touch on two things really quickly, as far as stress and as far as the third party neutral, like myself, one of the things that I don't bring to the table is emotion. I'm not emotionally tied to your business. Yes, I'm strategic. Yes, I'm looking at all the factors, but it's not an emotional connection, if you will. And as far as the stress, been there and done that. Most entrepreneurs that I know generally go to bed around 11 o'clock at night. And then around 2 and 3 in the morning, whether they're the CEO, doesn't matter the title, the owner, the founder, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, the boogeyman wakes them up and says, well, let's talk about this, whatever this might be. And that's the road that I've been down and can help people an awful lot with too.
That's another point I wanted to mention. There's a lot of people, say they're coaches, but maybe they're good at having a coaching business. You want to find an advisor who's actually good at having businesses and has had successful businesses. For one, they're not like Scott said, if he doesn't feel like he can help you, he won't. They're not just going to try and sign you up to sell you the coaching. They're actually looking to help you, and they've got real business experience, and that is invaluable. So that's one thing I always tell people: if you are in the business, you're looking for a business coach, find somebody who's had successful businesses, because they will have an absolute ton of experience and they may be able to help you greatly, and they may not if it's a business they're not familiar with. So Scott is the person to talk to, and see how you go. And if it all works out, you might be able to get a plan and just get yourself unstuck for 2025. It's a good time of the year to make some changes, and rather than just say, I'm going to lose weight again and not do it, let's do something good with our businesses, Scott.
Exactly right. Take action. I really appreciate your viewers reaching out and listeners reaching out to me to have a conversation. And if I'm not the right fit, maybe I can direct them to somebody that I think would be a better fit. And to your point, I know I've said this a few times, so forgive me for being repetitive. The counsel I offer, the coaching I offer is not based on something I read in a book. I've been doing this, I've been on working full time since I'm 16 years old, whether it was for somebody else or in my own businesses. So it's based on real world experience. I have the scars, bruises, bumps, and the t-shirt to prove all of that. So that's what I think differentiates myself as compared to so many others out there. I'm not saying there's not good coaches out there. I'm saying, to your point, make sure you're talking to somebody that's walked in your shoes or is walking in your shoes before you jump into that pond.
Yeah, 100%. And you work mostly remotely, is that right? And what area are you in? A lot of times people do like to have a chat with somebody in their home state at least. So whereabouts are you?
I am in Orlando, Florida. But I would tell you that as much as I try and escape the planes, trains, and automobiles life, more times than not, I am on a plane, a train, or an automobile going somewhere to spend time with a client. So sure, I would like to do most of this remote, if not all of it. But reality of it is we're still human beings. We like human connection. And oftentimes it is required that I be on site. And I'm certainly happy to do that.
Yeah, it's like buying a car. You could buy the exact same car online, but you really would rather visit the car and touch it, wouldn't you?
See, feel, touch, but also you want to make sure it's the right fit. Again, being in that environment, you can order a car online, to your point, but as somebody with a bad back can tell you, until you sit in that car and make sure it works for you, you want to make sure it works for you.
Yeah, there's something. Sometimes you really just need to have a bit of a one-on-one meeting. I find, not all the time. Anyway, that's great. Anybody out there, if you are wanting to get unstuck this year, have a chat to Scott, and he will have a chat to you and get back to you quickly, and get some great things happening. Thank you very much for coming on, Scott Gingold.
Julian, the pleasure was mine. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks to everybody out there listening to us today.
Wonderful. Yes, thanks everybody. I'm going to wrap things up. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.